What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Man Gap Modified Fabrication Off-Road. I'm kind of thinking about doing a little something where every weekend when we finish working on some things, we kind of go over a little bit of what we've been doing, just to kind of show you guys around, and you guys can kind of see what it is that we're working on. So right now, we're taking a little bit of a break from doing the Hemi swap. We're kind of waiting on parts and my uncle to figure out a few things on what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. So So, what we got going on, first of all, on this one here, Trev's got some corners going on, looking really good. He's got the other side on as well. And in the future, I think he's going to plan on building some sort of tire carrier for this. And that'll be something that we bring you guys along for the ride. Right now, this is just kind of where he's at. This is a preliminary stage, getting this figured out. Obviously, he'll get it all painted and cleaned up. Another big thing that we worked on is we did a lot of brainstorming on how can you make 14-inch coilovers fit on a JK. Well, it's a little bit difficult, especially with a 5.7. But I'm thinking if we remove this, and on the other side, we may have to remove, well, not remove because you can't remove that, but if we move the pick'em back, I believe is what they call it, there may be some spacing. We may also be able to change the air box slightly to where we can possibly cut this and move it, and maybe this would have space to come forward. I don't know yet. We'll figure that out, but it's definitely going to be a challenge, but I think we can make it work. Actually, I know we can make it work. So that's kind of what we're working on with. We're getting ready for the upcoming wheeling season. We've got a few trips planned. We're going to take you guys along for the ride on that for sure. And then on the other one, on this one, we're working on gauges. We're working on finishing up a little bit of wiring, just doing some miscellaneous kind of stuff. Nothing that's really fun, but I'll kind of show you guys what we're working with. So, originally what my plan was when I put the 6.4 in, is I planned to use the stock computer, and I had hopes that the stock gauges were going to work as well. Well, I don't know. We ran into an issue. I don't know if we fried the stock computer or what exactly we did. But we lost all the power to the OBD2 port. So we had power past that, but we didn't have power from the computer. I don't know what happened. No idea. Doesn't matter. We're not going to go that route anyway. So what we decided to do instead is, so these are my new gauges. This is nothing crazy. These are just parts off of Amazon. We made this bezel actually out of like some hard plastic from Menards. This is a stock Grand Cherokee gauge cluster, and we just took the plastic clear part off for now, and we cut the holes, put these gauges in, backed it back here. It's pretty self-explanatory, but for some of the gauges, obviously. The other gauges we're having some issues with. So as of right now, we have speedometer, blinkers, we have backlighting, we have voltage, but there's a few strange things. The Hemi's kind of weird for some reason. When we tied the temp sensor in, the Jeep wouldn't start. And we didn't know why that was. It would just crank, 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 crank. Nothing would happen. It was actually got to the point where it seemed like it had fuel dumping from the exhaust. So it was really trying, but nothing was happening. As soon as you unhook that wire, she fired right up. So it's kind of a weird thing. We're going to figure that out in the next few weeks. We may have to run a secondary temperature sensor that runs just to that gauge. Kind of the same thing with the oil pressure sensor. The stock oil pressure sensor is giving us a strange reading on our gauges. Right now, we're getting 150 psi, which obviously that's incorrect. So I don't know what's going on with that. We'll get that figured out here in a few weeks as well. We may have to run a second gauge, like I said, that runs just those gauges. I'm sorry, a second sensor that runs just those gauges. Now, another thing that we just found out was this right here. So you see that wet spot right there? So originally, I had bought 6.1 for this thing. I got them for a really good deal. The valve covers that I had were cracked. I thought, well, 6.1's probably the same as a 5.7, which is the same as a 6.4. Well, they went on very tight. It was hard to get the coils in. And on the other side, I'll show you. This one's slightly different. You can kind of see right here. There's a little bit of a bump where the other side is flat here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's flat. The clearance is not the same on the 6.1 valve covers versus the 6.4 valve covers. The 6.4 valve covers are, however, the same as the 5.7 valve covers, but they're not the same as the 6.1 valve covers. So we actually had the passenger side valve cover already crack and break, and I think it's just from the pressure of the putting the coils in, and it just kind of broke and we were leaking some oil. Well, then we realized that that's the same that's happening now on this side. We're having a little bit of oil loss. I mean, nothing crazy. There's no drips or anything like that, but obviously it's nothing. It's something that we need to get taken care of. So that's another thing that we will address. And then we also found that, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but my bump stop pad here is actually bent. So I hit pretty hard a few weeks ago when we went out. I had this thing off the ground a little bit, and the front end was coming down extremely hard. And obviously I bent that bump stop pad. So I don't know if I'm going to cut it off and weld a new one on, or if I'm going to go ahead and just throw something on the top with a gusset underneath it. I'm not sure yet exactly what I'm going to do there. And then the other thing that we kind of got going on, as you can tell, there is no rear drive shaft right now. So I don't know what, I'm not sure if I hit the rear drive shaft on something or what, but coming home from wheeling a few weeks ago, it had an extremely bad vibration. It was strange. It didn't have much vibration before. It had a slight vibration just from the solid engine mounts, is what I thought. But once I got back home, on the drive back home, it had an extremely bad vibration. We actually did realize that as I was getting off the expressway, one of the calipers had come off. This caliper here had come off and was wedged inside the wheel. So that was fun. Had to throw some new bolts in it on the side of the road. Well, throw a random bolt in it, limp it back home, go to the hardware store in the morning, throw new bolts in it. It's still vibrating. So we ended up taking the drive shaft off, and it looks like the drive shaft ears are actually twisted. So I don't know if it's from torque. I don't know if it's from hitting it on something. It didn't seem like it hit anything. It did make a strange noise at one point in time, and I thought maybe it was the locker letting go and then relocking. I actually thought maybe I broke an axle shaft. Didn't break any axle shafts. All four tires are still spinning. So all we can see is that I possibly bent or tweaked the drive shaft. So it's at the shop, hopefully getting fixed. They're gonna let me know, I guess, what's going on with that. So once we get that back, we'll throw that back in here. Hopefully that will fix that issue. We'll be ready to go for the most part. I do, however, still need to address this. I went out the first trip I had with this thing, and I was pulling myself out. I popped the fuse, trying to pull myself out, and when I popped the fuse, it put itself in park. And I had the full weight of the vehicle in fuse, or I'm sorry, the full weight of the vehicle in park, trying to be pulled out by this winch. And I remembered that I forgot, let's see if you can tell, you can't see in there, but I forgot to add the fourth bolt. So what happened is the whole winch actually twisted and broke. So the whole winch broke right here on both sides. You can kind of see it there. So we got to fix that. I reached out to Smittybilt, and Smittybilt said that that was a warranty part, which I was like, awesome. They'll send it to me, but they're sold out. So if anybody by chance has any of those laying around that they want to sell or give away or whatever, let me know. That would be awesome. That would be a huge savings, because otherwise I'm going to have to buy a new winch, which that's fine. There's possibility that I might go with something different. I have had my eye on actually the winch that Trev's got up here for quite some time. So this is he's running the super winch. He's running a super winch, and I've been really happy with it on here. I've seen him use it a handful of times, and it rips. It's pretty sweet. I like the look of it. It's a little bit, seems like it might be a little bit smaller than mine. So maybe that I'll go with something like that, or maybe a Warren. Who knows? I'll figure that out if I can't find the parts that I need to get this winch fixed. So that's really it. That's kind of how this weekend went. It was a boring wiring weekend. We ran some wires. We did some things. We added a few parts to the JK. We're getting ready. We're getting to ramp. Like I said, wheeling season's ramping up. We're getting ready to go. We're excited. We had a lot of trips planned. We got to get the 6.4 put in the JK. I have a 2-door JK coming in the shop here soon that we're going to do a very mild build on. We're just going to do a lift, 35s, nothing super crazy. It's my grandpa's rig. So we're going to do that. And I'm sure there'll be some more in and out of here. We've also got a TJ project coming up. It's going to be a full tube chassis TJ project. That's actually my buddy Trev's. So we'll see what we're going to do with that. We're up in the air with that one, whether we're going to do an LS or a 6.4. It probably won't be a 5.7 in that. It'll probably be a 6.4. We'll see. It's either going to be Hemi or LS. We'll decide that in the next few months, kind of see what's on our plate. So yeah, stay tuned. We got a lot of other stuff going on. If you'd like to see more, check us out in a few weeks or on our next video. And we'll kind of go from there. Hopefully, we'll have some more things figured out with this big girl here. We'll get her all set up, ready to go. I'm really hoping to drop a video soon of wheeling. I mean, that's what people want to see. So we'll drop a little bit of that. You'll see a little bit of fabrication once we get into this project of doing the tire carrier and definitely the front coilovers. I think that's going to be a cool project in itself. I'm excited about that one. And I know Trev's excited as well. So stay tuned, keep in touch, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.